The M1 155 mm Long Tom was arguably the crown jewel of American field artillery during World War II. Introduced in 1942, it was designed to provide extremely long-range, accurate fire against enemy fortifications, artillery positions, and troop concentrations. Weighing over 13,000 pounds, the Long Tom required a large crew, usually 12 soldiers, for operation, including gun laying, ammunition handling, and transportation. Its barrel length allowed it to fire shells up to 14 miles away, far surpassing most contemporaries. The gun used a 155 mm shell capable of high explosive or armor-piercing effects. The Long Tom's mobility relied on a special prime mover truck that towed it across battlefields. Despite its size, its precision, and destructive power made it a favorite for counter-battery fire, taking out enemy artillery before it could threaten advancing troops. The design of the M1 came after lessons learned in World War I and interwar experimentation. Engineers focused on increasing range, reliability, and accuracy. By 1944, M1 Long Toms were deployed in both the European and Pacific theaters, supporting offensives in Italy, France, and the Philippines. One notable action was its use during the Battle of the Bulge, where Long Tom shelled German positions deep behind the lines. While formidable, the Long Tom was not without limitations. Its size made it a target for enemy air attacks, and moving it across rough terrain was a logistical challenge. However, its precision fire changed the dynamics of artillery duels. Today, surviving examples are displayed in military museums, preserved in near-original condition to showcase their historical significance. The M2 105 mm howitzer was a mainstay of American divisional artillery early in World War II. Introduced in the 1920s and seeing widespread use during the early years of War II, it provided a balance of firepower, range, and mobility. It was designed primarily to support infantry, delivering indirect fire on enemy positions and fortifications. The M2 fired 105 mm shells with a maximum range of about 12,500 yards. Depending on the charge and shell type, it required a crew of 6 to operate efficiently, including positions for the gunner, loader, and transport team. One of its advantages was relatively lightweight compared to heavier artillery, allowing it to be towed by trucks or even horses in some theaters. Design-wise, the M2 was robust, easy to maintain, and reliable under battlefield conditions. It featured a split-trail carriage, which allowed wide horizontal traversal for targeting. In combat, it saw action in North Africa, Italy, and the Pacific, supporting infantry against entrenched Japanese and German positions. Its versatility made it a dependable choice for commanders at all levels. Despite being slightly overshadowed later by the M1 100 and 5 mm howitzer, the M2's contribution to early World War II campaigns was critical. Its accuracy and rate of fire allowed infantry to engage fortified enemy positions with artillery support, shaping the battlefield long before tanks or air support arrived. Today, M2 howitzers are displayed in museums as a testament to American artillery ingenuity. The M1 105 mm howitzer was an improved successor to the M2, entering service in 1942 and becoming the standard U.S. divisional artillery piece by mid-World War II. Its enhancements included increased range, better recoil management, and more reliable aiming mechanisms, which allowed it to deliver precise, indirect fire over long distances. The M1 fired 105 mm high explosive and smoke shells, reaching distances of up to 12,000 yards. Like the M2, it required a 6-member crew for optimal operation. It was mounted on a split-trail carriage, giving it stability and a wide field of fire. One key improvement over the M2 was the standardization of parts, which simplified maintenance and logistics in the field. The M1 howitzer saw extensive service in North Africa, Sicily, Italy, and Europe, providing crucial support during major offensives. Its versatility allowed it to perform a variety of tasks, from counter-battery fire to direct support for infantry assaults. Soldiers appreciated its reliability, accuracy, and relative ease of transport compared to heavier artillery. By the war's end, the M1100 and 5mm howitzer had cemented its reputation as a highly effective field artillery weapon. It became a model for post-war howitzer development and continued to serve in U.S. and USS military units for years after World War II. Today, preserved examples can be seen in military museums, often meticulously restored to reflect their wartime appearance. The M337mm anti-tank gun was the first dedicated U.S. anti-tank weapon deployed in World War II. Introduced in 1940, it was designed to counter the light tanks used by potential adversaries, offering mobility and relatively light weight for rapid deployment. It required a crew of 5, including the gunner, loader, and ammunition handlers. Firing a 37mm armor-piercing shell, the M3 was effective against early German Panzer IN-2 tanks. Its maximum effective range was around 1,000 yards, though penetration declined significantly at longer distances. Early in the war, it proved useful in the Philippines, North Africa, and early European campaigns. However, as the war progressed, tank armor increased, and the M3 became less effective against medium and heavy tanks. The gun featured a simple, split-trail carriage for stability, a small shield to protect the crew from small arms fire, and manual traversing and elevation controls. Its light weight allowed it to be towed by jeeps or even manhandled into position, making it adaptable in rough terrain or urban environments. Despite becoming obsolete, it played a critical role in early war training and defense. By 1943, the M3 was largely replaced by the more powerful 3-inch M5 anti-tank gun, but it remained in secondary theaters and as a training weapon. Today, surviving examples can be found in military museums, preserved to show early American anti-tank design. The M5 3-inch anti-tank gun was the U.S. Army's response to the rapidly improving armor of German tanks in the early 1940s. Developed to replace the underpowered M337mm gun, the M5 offered higher velocity, longer range, and the ability to penetrate medium armor effectively. Introduced in 1942, the M5 fired a 3-inch, 76.2mm armor-piercing shell capable of defeating Panzer III and early Panzer IV tanks at combat ranges. Its maximum effective range against armor was about 2,000 yards. The gun required a crew of 6 to operate efficiently and was towed by half-tracks or trucks. Its split-trail carriage allowed 60 degrees traverse and moderate elevation, giving it tactical flexibility in defensive positions. The M5 saw extensive service in the European theater, particularly in North Africa and Italy, where USSI anti-tank battalions were often deployed to counter German armored thrusts. Its firepower allowed infantry units to engage tanks at safer ranges, and the gun could also fire high-explosive shells for indirect support. Despite its success, by 1944 it was being replaced by self-propelled tank destroyers like the M18 Hellcat and heavier artillery. Nonetheless, the M5 remains a historically significant weapon, showing the evolution of U.S. anti-tank design and doctrine. Surviving examples are preserved in military collections for educational and historical purposes. The M19 1775mm field gun was an American adaptation of the French Canon D75 model, 1897, brought into USS service during World War I and carried over into World War II in secondary roles. Though considered outdated by the 1940s, it was reliable, robust, and familiar to USS artillery units. This field gun fired 75 MMI high-explosive shells with an effective range of about 8,500 yards. Its relatively lightweight and simple design made it easy to transport and maintain, often towed by trucks or horses in early campaigns. The M1917 featured a simple recoil system, split-trail carriage, and manual aiming controls, making it a practical weapon for training and limited frontline use. During World War, the M1917 saw action mainly in early Pacific and Caribbean campaigns as well as in the training of U.S. artillery crews. While its firepower was modest compared to newer designs like the M1 105 howitzer, it was still useful for infantry support and anti-personnel bombardments. The M1917 illustrates the transitional phase of U.S. artillery, bridging older WWII designs with modern World War II guns. Today, it remains a museum piece, highlighting early American field artillery and the evolution of mobile firepower. The M2 155 howitzer was a heavy artillery piece used by the U.S. Army at the start of World War II. It was designed to provide powerful indirect fire for divisional and corps-level artillery units, delivering devastating high-explosive shells against fortifications, troop concentrations, and enemy artillery. Weighing over 14,000 pounds, the M2 required a large crew, often 12-15 soldiers, to operate efficiently. Its maximum range was approximately 12,000 yards, making it suitable for both counter-battery fire and long-range bombardments. The howitzer could fire a variety of shells, including high-explosive, smoke, and chemical rounds, although chemical munitions were rarely used in combat. The design of the M2 reflected lessons from World War I. Stability, durability, and range were prioritized over mobility. It was towed by heavy trucks or tracked prime movers and could be emplaced in prepared firing positions within a few hours. During campaigns in North Africa and Italy, M2 Howitz provided crucial support to infantry operations, softening enemy positions before attacks, while it was eventually superseded by the MON 155 mm howitzer later in the war. The M2 remained in service for heavy fire support throughout World War II. Today, it is preserved in museums, offering insight into the evolution of American heavy artillery. The M7 Priest was a self-propelled 105 howitzer mounted on a modified M3 Lee tank chassis. Introduced in 1942, it provided mobile artillery support for armored and infantry units, combining the firepower of a 105 howitzer with the mobility of a tracked vehicle. The Priest nickname came from the pulpit-like machine gun mount on top. With a crew of 7, the M7 could quickly reposition to support advancing units or respond to changing battlefield conditions. Its 105 shells had a maximum range of approximately 11,200 yards, suitable for indirect fire against enemy troops, fortifications, and artillery positions. Unlike towed artillery, it could keep pace with armored divisions and provide immediate fire support without requiring long emplacement procedures. It saw extensive use in North Africa, Italy, and the European theater, particularly in Normandy, and during the push through France. Equipped with radios, the M7 allowed coordinated artillery fire and improved communication with infantry units. Its combination of mobility, firepower, and reliability made it one of the most effective self-propelled artillery pieces of World War II. Today, preserved examples showcase its historical significance in armored warfare. The M12 gun motor carriage was a heavy self-propelled artillery piece designed to mount a 155 gun on a tracked chassis. Introduced in 1943, it combined the firepower of a heavy field gun with the mobility required to support mechanized formations in Europe. The M12 fired 155 shells over ranges of up to 14,600 yards, providing long-range support against enemy fortifications and artillery. Its large crew, typically 13 soldiers, handled gun operation, ammunition loading, and vehicle maneuvering. The M12 was based on a modified M3 Lee tank chassis, providing armor protection and off-road capability. Its primary role was in indirect fire missions, supporting infantry and armored units during major offensives. Notably, the M12 was used during the Normandy campaign and in the push across France and into Germany. The combination of heavy firepower, mobility, and armored protection made it invaluable in situations where traditional towed artillery could not keep pace. Despite its advantages, the M12 was complex to maintain, and production numbers were limited. After World War II, it influenced post-war self-propelled artillery development. Today, surviving M12s are preserved in military museums, demonstrating the evolution of American heavy artillery in mechanized warfare. The M1 75mm PAC howitzer was a lightweight artillery piece specifically designed for airborne mountain and jungle operations. Introduced in 1941, it could be disassembled into multiple components, allowing transport by pack animals, trucks, or even gliders, making it ideal for difficult terrain where traditional artillery could not reach. Firing 75 mm high explosive and smoke shells, it had a maximum range of about 8,800 yards. Despite its compact size, it offered effective support for infantry units by delivering indirect fire against enemy positions and fortifications. The gun required a small crew of 5 who could quickly assemble and deploy it under combat conditions. The M1 PAC howitzer saw extensive service in the Pacific Theater, including campaigns in New Guinea and the Philippines, where terrain made traditional artillery impractical. Its portability allowed USAO forces to provide fire support in mountainous areas and dense jungles, giving them a strategic advantage. Its simple yet robust design ensured reliability under harsh environmental conditions. Although not as powerful as larger field guns, the M175mm PAC howitzer demonstrated the importance of mobility in modern warfare. Today, surviving examples are displayed in military museums, highlighting its unique role in airborne and specialized operations. The MON 14155 howitzer was introduced during World War II as a modernized replacement for the older M2 155mm howitzer. It combined improved range, mobility, and ease of maintenance, becoming a standard heavy artillery piece for the U.S. Army in late War II and beyond. The M114 could fire 155mm shells up to 14,600 yards, providing long-range support for divisional and corps-level operations. Its design included a split-trail carriage, a robust recoil system, and a 13-person crew for gun operation and transportation. The gun could fire high explosive, smoke, and chemical rounds, offering flexibility for various combat missions. This howitzer saw action in the European theater, particularly during the campaigns in France and Germany, where it was used for counter-battery fire, destruction of enemy fortifications, and supporting infantry and armored advances. Its improved range allowed artillery units to remain behind front lines while still effectively targeting enemy positions. The M114's reliability, combined with its relatively easier setup and maintenance compared to older guns, made it highly valued by U.S. artillery units. After World War II, it continued in service for decades, including the Korean and Vietnam Wars. Today, M114s are preserved in museums, reflecting their enduring impact on artillery design and doctrine. The M2A1 105mm howitzer was an upgraded version of the original M2 105mm howitzer. Introduced in 1942, it featured enhanced aiming mechanisms, improved recoil management, and standardized parts for easier maintenance, making it a reliable and versatile field artillery piece for U.S. forces. The gun fired 105mm high-explosive smoke and illumination rounds up to 12,500 yards. It required a 6-person crew for optimal operation, and its split-trail carriage allowed wide horizontal traverse and stability during firing. Its mobility enabled divisional artillery units to provide rapid and effective support to infantry operations across a variety of terrains. The M2A1 served in both the European and Pacific theaters, supporting major offensives from North Africa to the islands of the Pacific. Its combination of reliability, accuracy, and logistical simplicity made it one of the most widely used U.S. field howitzers of the war. By the end of World War II, it had proven itself as a dependable artillery platform. Today, the M2A1 105mm howitzer is preserved in military museums worldwide, demonstrating the evolution of American medium artillery and its role in combined arms warfare during World War The M875 gun motor carriage was a U.S. armored vehicle developed during World War II to provide mobile fire support for reconnaissance and infantry units. Built on a light tank chassis, the M8 mounted a 75 gun capable of both direct and indirect fire, giving it versatility on the battlefield. Introduced in 1942, the ME could engage light and medium armored targets, as well as fortified positions. It had a maximum range of roughly 8,800 yards for indirect fire, though it was often used for direct fire against visible targets. The vehicle was manned by a crew of 4, including a commander, gunner, loader, and driver. Its light armor allowed for speed and maneuverability, but offered limited protection against heavy enemy weapons. The M8 saw extensive service in the European theater, particularly during reconnaissance missions where mobility and firepower were critical. It could quickly reposition to support infantry or respond to flanking maneuvers. Its combination of speed and a capable 75 gun made it a flexible asset in fast-moving campaigns. Although eventually overshadowed by heavier tank destroyers, the M8 illustrated the importance of mobile, lightly armored artillery in modern mechanized warfare. Surviving examples today are preserved in museums, showing its role as a versatile mobile fire support platform.